Bayonetta's voice is iconic.
If you need to learn how to talk to a lady, ask your mum.
And yet, it doesn't sound the same in Bayonetta 3.
It seems I'm unfashionably late.
The reason why? Bayonetta's original voice actress, Hellena Taylor, refused to star in this new game due to a fierce pay dispute. She felt she wasn't being paid fairly, and Platinum refused to pay her what she asked for. So in this video, I'll talk about how Hellena Taylor created Bayonetta's iconic voice. I'll explain the details of the pay dispute, and we'll look at how Platinum found a new voice for Bayonetta. Here's why Bayonetta doesn't sound like she used to. The story starts in 2007 when Platinum Games was working on a brand new action game called Bayonetta. The game's director was this guy, Hideki Kamiya, and when it came to the game's main character, Bayonetta, Kamiya imagined her speaking English, not Japanese. So, Platinum Games decided not to cast a Japanese voice for Bayonetta. Instead, all versions of the game would have the characters speaking in English. Japanese players would have to use subtitles. And so, Platinum Games held auditions in America to find someone who could play Bayonetta. One actress who auditioned was Hellena Taylor, an English actress who got her start performing on stage. But after moving to the United States, she'd begun taking more voiceover jobs, appearing in various games, cartoons, and adverts. And so, in around 2008, her agency suggested she audition for this new Bayonetta game. After some vocal warm-ups in her car outside the studio, Hellena Taylor was given one black and white drawing of Bayonetta, along with about 5 lines of description. In other words, she was told almost nothing about who this character was. Taylor then had 5 minutes to think of a voice for this character, and then she began recording. She gave Platinum Games 3 different voices to choose from. Each one was completely different from the others. She wanted to show off how flexible she was as an actress. She said in an interview, "You don't really know what they are looking for. It's shooting in the dark, really. So I always make bold choices. I give them 3 contrasting reads in terms of tone and inflection, so they can hear that I can be flexible." Then, once it was recorded, it was sent to Japan. So, after sending off the 3 different Bayonetta auditions, Hellena Taylor left the studio and went about her day. Meanwhile, the developers at Platinum Games began going through all of the different auditions they received, and when they heard Hellena Taylor's, they were impressed. And that's how she got the job. Next, it was time to record Bayonetta's voice lines for the game, and the process of recording these lines was pretty challenging. You see, to prevent spoilers, Hellena Taylor was told nothing about the game's story. She was just given lines of dialogue with little to no explanation of how that dialogue fit into the game's plot. I had no idea if I was fighting demons, dragons, or flying giraffes, said Hellena Taylor. I just imagined the biggest thing I could envisage in my mind to up the stakes for her. But aside from not really knowing what was going on, there was another challenge Taylor faced. The battle grunts, aka the noises Bayonetta makes while fighting opponents. Sounds like yeah. To make these grunts sound believable, Hellena Taylor would move all around the recording booth, flailing her arms about and shooting a pretend gun as if she really was Bayonetta. Her favourite line to record was from when Bayonetta first meets the crying child, Cereza. She tells the child,
"If there's 2 things I hate in this world, it's cockroaches and crying babies." Well, a crying baby cockroach would be truly terrible.
And so, in October 2009, Bayonetta was released, first in Japan and then a few months later in the rest of the world. Instantly, players fell in love with Hellena Taylor's performance as Bayonetta.
Nu do, dead you.
She was sexy, powerful, and didn't suffer fools gladly, but she fought for what was right, and her voice was a huge part of that.
You're making it easy.
Meanwhile in Japan, Platinum quickly realised they needed to give Bayonetta a Japanese voice after all, for things like TV commercials. And, as it happened, the game devs had someone in mind. You see, throughout Bayonetta's development, the question had often come up, if someone were to play Bayonetta, who would be good? And the answer to that question, time and time again, had been Atsuko Tanaka. Now, Atsuko Tanaka is a legendary voice actress, best known for playing strong, mature characters. She's the Japanese voice of Lara Croft, for instance, and she also voices Lisa from JoJo and Motoko Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell. So, when Bayonetta was nearing completion, Platinum asked Atsuko Tanaka to voice the character in various TV commercials and such. She accepted, and during the first recording session, director Hideki Kamiya came along to watch. He thought he'd need to direct Tanaka to help her find the perfect Bayonetta voice. But she was so spot on that he said he needn't have attended the recording after all. So good, in fact, was Atsuko Tanaka, that a few years later, in 2013, when Bayonetta 1 was adapted into an anime film called Bayonetta Bloody Fate, Tanaka was given the role of Bayonetta without a second thought. This was her first full outing as the character, and she is just great.
レディーの扱い方、ママに教えてもらいなさい。私はここよ。全力を見せてよ。
Now, when this movie was dubbed into English, the producers wanted to include as much of the video game cast as possible. Unfortunately, by then, Hellena Taylor had moved back to the UK from America. But rather than recast her character, the producer of the dub flew all the way over to Britain to record Bayonetta's lines with Hellena Taylor.
You're making it easy. Don't make me beg.
And after that, Bayonetta's voice remained completely consistent. In Japanese media, Bayonetta was voiced by Atsuko Tanaka, and in English, she was voiced by Hellena Taylor. But then, during the development of Bayonetta 3, that changed. So, Bayonetta 3 entered development in 2017, and a few years into development, Platinum Games reached out to Hellena Taylor, asking her to audition once more for the role of Bayonetta. She passed the audition, in her words, with flying colours, and so, with Bayonetta's voice settled, it was time to negotiate a deal. How much would Hellena Taylor be paid for this third game in the series? Well, according to Taylor herself, Platinum's initial offer was $10,000. Now, that was higher than what she'd been paid for Bayonetta 1 and 2, but Taylor felt she deserved to be paid more, so she wrote a letter in Japanese to Hideki Kamiya, the game's producer, asking for a larger offer. Thus, Taylor was then offered another $5,000, totaling $15,000 for the game. This was Platinum's final offer. They weren't willing to go any higher. But Hellena Taylor felt that this payment was still not enough, and so she decided not to return as Bayonetta's voice in this third entry in the series. Which meant that Platinum Games had a real challenge on their hands. They had to find someone to fill Taylor's shoes, someone to take on the mantle of Bayonetta's voice. And so, Platinum began holding auditions in the US, which is where they found the perfect person for the job, legendary voice actress Jennifer Hale. Jennifer Hale has been acting in games for almost 30 years. You can hear her voice in series like Mass Effect, Metal Gear Solid, BioShock, Overwatch, and Metroid Prime, among many others. And perhaps due to these many years of experience, Jennifer Hale was able to inherit the legacy of Bayonetta brilliantly. Just take a listen to her take on the character.
It seems I'm unfashionably late, but I'm ready to give you everything you want.
So, Platinum had found a new voice for Bayonetta. Except even after casting Jennifer Hale in the role, they still wanted to find some way of including Hellena Taylor, the original voice of Bayonetta, in this new game. And so, 11 months after negotiations fell through, Platinum reached out once more to Hellena Taylor and offered her a small cameo role in the game, in exchange for a flat fee of $4,000. Taylor turned this offer down. So, finally, the situation was settled, right? Hellena Taylor wasn't paid what she asked for, so she walked away from the role and Platinum found someone else to play this character. However, Hellena Taylor was not happy with how things went down, and she wanted the world to know it. About 1 year before Bayonetta 3 was released, someone tweeted, You're an icon, Hellena. I can't imagine Bayonetta without your amazing voice. Hellena Taylor replied with the cryptic message, well, you might have to. That is a strange reply. Fans started to wonder whether Bayonetta had been recast. And when a trailer for Bayonetta 3 was released a few days later, in which Bayonetta's voice sounded a little different from normal, fans started to wonder, had Bayonetta's voice actress been recast? Well, only a few weeks before the release of Bayonetta 3, a producer at Platinum Games said this. Various overlapping circumstances made it difficult for Hellena Taylor to reprise her role. We held auditions to cast the new voice of Bayonetta and offered the role to Jennifer Hale, whom we felt was a good match for the character. So, now the recast was public information. People were sad to see Hellena go, but it didn't seem like things had ended on bad terms. But then, 1 week later, Taylor released a series of bombshell videos where she claimed that she had been severely underpaid and undervalued by Platinum.
What did they offer to pay me? The final offer to do the whole game as a buyout, a flat rate, was $4,000 US. This is an insult to me and everything that I have given to this game and to the fans.
So, in her videos, Hellena Taylor claims she was offered only $4,000 to voice the entire game, which is shockingly low, but it's also not true. As we know now, Taylor was actually offered $15,000 to voice the entire game, and when that fell through, she was offered $4,000 for a smaller cameo. But in her videos, Hellena Taylor never mentions the 15,000 figure, and she never explains that the 4,000 figure was for a cameo, not for the whole game, as she states. So, when people watched Taylor's videos, almost everyone believed her, including me, because why would she lie? If she lied, then Platinum Games could easily prove that fact, so everyone believed her. In her video, Taylor asked fans to boycott Bayonetta 3, and quite a few people cancelled their pre-orders because of this. But then, a few days later, multiple journalists started casting doubts upon Taylor's claims after having spoken to employees inside Platinum Games. More and more people began questioning Hellena Taylor's side of the story, until eventually Hellena Taylor herself admitted that she had actually been offered $15,000 for the role. She never explained why she left out this much larger offer from her initial videos, and she also never apologized for misleading so many people. But it's more than that. Hellena Taylor made it harder for voice actors to advocate for higher pay. Because voice actors working in games and anime dubbing are indeed massively underpaid. But now, if a voice actor goes public with a bad pay situation, there'll be a little doubt in the back of people's minds, saying, what if this is just like the Hellena Taylor situation? It really sucks. But, putting all of that aside, Bayonetta 3 has just been released, and reviews are looking really good. In particular, Jennifer Hale's performance as Bayonetta has been highly celebrated. Going forward, I'm looking forward to hearing much more of Jennifer Hale as Bayonetta. So, when I go back and replay Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2, I have to admit, Hellena Taylor's performance is really good. I'm not gonna pretend she wasn't great as Bayonetta. But in the last month, Hellena Taylor has burned away any goodwill she had with her fans. With these misleading videos, and now with her asking fans to donate to an anti-abortion charity, I think that a lot of Bayonetta fans would be happy for Hellena Taylor not to return as Bayonetta. She did a great job creating this character's voice, but now it's time for the baton to be passed on to someone else. And I have no doubts that Jennifer Hale will carry that baton admirably. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully I was able to unconfuse this slightly confusing situation. It was very strange watching it unfold online. Anyway, I'll see you next week, and goodbye.